Thank you, Joe and Rachel, for that amazing introduction. I didn't realize how much about food, we're here, it's a keto conference, like we're all here about low carb, it's all about the food, but I didn't realize how much food was mentioned in that intro, which I think is funny because I will not be talking about food at all today. Like, here's the thing, guys, like, unpopular opinion, we know what to eat. We know what to eat and what not to eat, right? And what I thought was so amazing about going after Kim Howerton, going after Robert, was that they mentioned the mental side of it and the mindset side of it, and that's all I'm gonna be talking about today. I'm not gonna be counting net carbs, total carbs, I'm not gonna have a list of food. I'm not talking about glucose levels or A1Cs, like none of that. I'm literally just talking about the mindset and the things that I've learned over the past 5 or 6 years in this entire process. Hence, the title of my talk today is, If You Hate Yourself Thin, You'll Hate Yourself Thin. And I will elaborate on that a little bit more, but I wanted a catchy title, something to grab your attention. But it's really a lesson in how your thoughts create your reality. But before I get into that, who am I? So a couple things. As they mentioned, I am a keto conference enthusiast. So all of these pictures that you see here, these are all the various conferences, some of the various conferences that I've gone to. That one in the top left there, that's me and my husband Richard here at the Mardi Gras night last year. And then there's one with Joe and Rachel's in a bunny costume, and that was at Keto Salt Lake a couple years ago. Like, I love to travel the country and meet with the community and meet with the speakers and everyone that attends. So these are just some of my favorite experiences that we've had. I'm also a keto conference host. So as they mentioned, in 2020 of all years, I was like, you know what? I want to create my own space for people to come together. It really just started as a meetup for my YouTube family. I was like, they were like, hey, Autumn, we want to meet you. And I'm like, psh, no, But I was like, well, hey, if you want to meet me, come to Louisville, Kentucky. And they did that very first year and during the pandemic in the later stages of it. But it was amazing. It was a small group, started 30 people. And this year will be the 4th Ketopalooza. And there's going to be 300 people there this year. And you could be those people. So you can go to ketopalooza.com. I have flyers in the back there, but we'd love to see you. Really, my focus is on the community. It's on the people. It's on having a good time with each other because we make such deep relationships on the internet, and we rarely get to see each other in real life, right? And so that's what I wanted to celebrate. I also wanted to celebrate the amazing city of Louisville, Kentucky, because that's where I'm from, and I love it. How many people are familiar with Louisville? We got some Louisville natives here. I got some neighbors, yes. And so if you've never seen it, I invite you to come. It's amazing. T-shirt maker extraordinaire. I see some people wearing some shirts that I've made. If you've ever bought anything from my company, Keto Strong, or the Low Carb Cruise shirts, or Dr. Berry's Proper Human Diet, I make T-shirts. And so thank you so much for your support. It's one of my favorite things I get to do. And then seeing people wear them is just one of my biggest pleasures ever. So thank you. I'm a cruise lover. We didn't know this. This is our second cruise. We were invited last year on the low carb cruise. Turns out we love it. So Rachel, I know exactly what that feels like. You don't know what to expect, and then by the end you're like, I was made to do this. So, cruise lover. I am a loving wife to an amazing and fine husband. There he goes over there. Yeah. I don't know. If you've just seen the really jolly, jovial man with a super deep voice just running around here, that's my husband. He belongs to me. I love him so much, and he's such a great support and everything. I drag him all across the country to these things, and so he's so supportive. And then also, I'm an everyday person just trying to figure it out, right? Like, not a doctor, not a health coach, not a anything. I'm just a person that has always wondered, like, how are people supposed to eat? What is the proper human diet, right? And so I think to an extent we've really figured that out, but one thing that Dr. Vega said that just blew my mind is he talked about the proper human mindset. And I think that's one piece that a lot of us don't really take into account is how mental this entire thing is and how your mindset and your thoughts drives all the actions that you take. So we're gonna hop into that. So the title of this presentation actually came from a conversation that I was having with Kim Howerton at the PhD Summit in 2022. We were sitting outside. We were just talking about, tales of the keto lifestyle, like, started, lost a lot of weight, now I'm in a stall, tried fasting, tried carnivore, blah, just all the things that we've done, right? And all the things that we have pushed ourselves to do, in realizing that you can force yourself to do hard things for a short period of time, right? You can definitely use negativity to motivate yourself into doing tough things. You think, I will love myself once I see that number on the scale, once I get back into that size of jeans, but unfortunately it just doesn't work like that. You can't go to sleep at 151 pounds with your goal weight being 150. You can't be 151 pounds and be like, ugh, I'm crap, I hate it, I don't love myself. And then wake up the next morning at 149, because we all know you lose weight when you sleep, and then you wake up first thing in the morning, step on the scale and be like, oh my gosh, I've made it. I am 149. That satisfaction lasts 5 minutes max. Right? How many of us have been there where we just like put all of our hopes into this thing, we achieve the thing, and we're like, yay, like, oh, that's it, right? Like, you won't even be able to tell the difference, right? The same flabby arms, the same muffin top, the same thighs, everything that you saw the day before, you're gonna see. Like, that number doesn't lift this veil. It doesn't suddenly turn you into a person that likes yourself. And Joe was mentioning that, how we can look in the mirror after 100 plus pounds of weight loss and still see the exact same person. So Kim and I were just talking, about how, you know, we can motivate ourselves into suffering. We can call ourselves all sorts of names, like, get it in gear, girl, come on, get your stuff together, right? And it was just like, oh yeah, because I mean, if you hate yourself thin, you'll hate yourself thin. Meaning, if you hate yourself into becoming thin, if you talk poorly to yourself, if you drill sergeant yourself, if you force yourself, and yeah, you can become thin, but you will still hate yourself once you actually become thin. The body isn't the thing that is supposed to change. The mind has to change. You can only do hard things for so long. After that, your motivation runs out. Discipline, it's difficult to stay disciplined when you thought this thing was going to solve your problems, and it doesn't. And so it's not enough to change what you do. You have to also change how you think along the way. And so in order to examine that entire circle and cycle of how we think and what shows up in our lives, I wanted to introduce the models. Anyone have heard of the model? It's something that I have learned from the Life Coach School. I've just really become a student of mindset. And so the model is something that I really found that helps me understand the source for everything that shows up in my life. So the model starts with a circumstance. A circumstance is an observable fact. It is something that everyone can agree on, and it's something that can be proven in court. I am wearing a black dress. That's a circumstance. That is just a fact. We could all agree on that. Maybe depending on, the lens of our shades might look a little different, but we can all agree on that. If I were to say, this dress makes me look fat, is that a circumstance? Is that something we could all agree on? Could I find 2 people in this room that wouldn't agree with that? Thank you, right? And so the circumstance is the most neutral thing that exists. The very next thing that comes from that is a thought. A thought is an observation of a circumstance, right? I am wearing a black dress. Everyone can agree with it. That's a fact. The next thing I choose to think, I look horrible in this dress. I look amazing in this dress. Thought, thank you. I go with the second one. I choose the second one. And that's the crazy thing. Did you know you can choose your thoughts? You don't have to stick with the first one that pops in your head. You can say, don't like that one. Let me bring another one. And so I might look and say, look at my arms, look at my waist. Nope, hey, let's choose something else. You know what? The backside's looking okay, And we can describe, thank you. That's my man right there, ladies and gentlemen. But really, I think we take for granted the notion that we can discard the thoughts that we don't want, and we can bring in new ones. And that's the one thing that I really, really hope that you take away, is to stop believing the very first thought that pops into your head, right? Because like Kim Howerton said, your brain is going to offer up that negativity. And put another way, your brain will always answer the question that you ask it. It will always have an answer. Like, Why can't I fix this? Well, it's because you're undisciplined. It's because you ate that cheesecake yesterday. It's because you don't exercise the way you should. When you ask yourself these questions, your brain will always come up with the answer. So let's ask better questions. So the next thing we have is a thought. The thought drives a feeling. So the thought can make us feel a certain way. If I think I look horrible in this dress, I might feel unconfident. I might feel bad. I'll feel negative. But if I think I look awesome in this dress, I'll feel confident. I feel great. I'll feel sexy. I'll feel alive, right? And that feeling comes from the thought that I just had. So something I want you to think about, if you ever find yourself feeling a certain way, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling just negative, if you're feeling sad, think about the thought that you had right before that. What am I thinking to make me feel this way? Because once again, if you isolate the thought, it can change everything from there. Choose a different thought. Our feelings, whether or not we understand this, our feelings are what drive our actions. So if we can feel motivated, if we feel confident, if we feel strong, we're going to want to keep doing things that make us feel motivated and feel confident and feel strong. That's when we're going to make better food choices. That's when we're going to get up and exercise. We're going to take the stairs instead of the elevator. We're going to exercise in the gym because we want to keep that feeling that we have, or we want to take action to avoid a feeling that we don't like, right? And so every action that we take stems from we're either trying to lean in and feel more of a feeling, or we're trying to escape a feeling that we don't like. But once again, if we can back up to our thought, it will drive a different feeling, which will drive a different action. And then the last part of the model, I think this is the most intuitive. It's that our actions lead to our result. The action is what's going to determine what actually shows up in your life. You can't just get strong muscles from sitting on the couch not doing anything. You have to take action. You can't lose body fat by not doing anything. You have to take action, but that action is driven from the feeling that we put into it, and the results are what come from that action. But furthermore, our result will always prove our thought. That very first thought we had in the beginning, that result will show up in our life over and over and over again, so much that it creates evidence of, you see, this is what I thought. So let's go back to the first one. I have a thought. I look horrible in this dress. I feel unconfident and sad. When I feel unconfident and sad, the action I take is I want to stay in. I don't want to see anybody. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to do anything. And as a result, I don't reach any of my health goals. My body continues to deteriorate. And then I put on the dress again, and guess what? Just like I knew it, I look horrible in this dress, right? It's the same thing. It's going to show up over and over again. Whereas, hey, if I think I look great, I feel awesome. I take actions to keep me feeling awesome. I want to lift heavy weights. I want to use the stairs. That's going to help me reach my health goals. And when I try on this dress, you know what? I look great in this dress, right? It's just the cycle that goes over and over again. And so a belief is just something that you've told yourself so many times that you think it's a fact. And it is, if it's not a circumstance, if it's not something that we can all observe and believe, it's a thought. And we have the power to change our thoughts. So I want to give you a quick example of how I use this model to when I was in the gym a couple months ago. So I've been wanting to lift heavy weights. I still get self-conscious when I go over to the weight side of the gym and there's all these people throwing these things around. It seems like every machine is full and I just want to hide. And so I had my weightlifting plan. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I walked in there and it was just so many people. It was more people than I had ever seen on the weights before. And I said, there are too many people here. And when I said there are too many people here, I started to feel claustrophobic, self-conscious. And I was like, you know what? I just want to retreat to the sea of treadmills on the other side. I just want to hop on one of the 100 treadmills and no one's going to see me. And I just get to do my thing. But I stopped my thought. And I was like, that's not what I want to do. I want to lift weights. That's what I plan to do. So I said, what thought am I having? There are too many people here. That is not a fact. That someone else would say, I think there's a regular amount of people here, right? The circumstance was there are several people on the weights. That's it. That's it. There are just several people on the weights. That's all that means. So my next thought that I chose to have was, if they can work out with this many people around, so can I. Like, if they can do it, so can I. So that drove me to feel calm, patient, confident, like if they can do it, so can I. And I literally just sat on one machine, did a couple of reps just to let people move along, and within 3 minutes, all my machines were open. And I got to finish my workout. All because I chose to have a different thought than what I originally had. And so that's just the power of how you can use the model to take a step back, examine your thoughts, and those will drive different outcomes. So now let's look at a circumstance that I'm sure we've all been in a time or two, stepping on the scale, right? Unpopular opinion. The scale is a metal box on the floor. The scale doesn't love you. The scale doesn't hate you. The scale is not this force in your life for evil. The scale is a metal box on the floor, right? It can't be rooting for you. It is not wishing for your downfall. It does not care about you. It has no capacity to care. The scale is a feedback machine. Just like an oven, a thermometer, a ruler, its sole job is to take an input, you stepping on it, and to display an output. That's it. It's completely neutral. What happens after that is up to you. Everything else, the next thing that happens is a thought that you have. And so it's not about what the number says, it's about what you think about that number. And so think about it this way. Say we are, in Mexico, say you step on the scale and it tells your weight in kilograms, or if we're in Europe, it tells it in stone. You don't know what that number means. Like you don't know what, if you step on the scale and see the number 46, it's not pounds. So you're just like, I don't know, should I be happy about this? Like, what do I need to multiply in order to get the real number? You don't know how to feel, right? And that in itself is proof that it's not a real number. It only has meaning when you give it meaning, right? And so we are going to do a little example we're going to meet two new friends and we're going to see how they observe the same circumstance and how it drives them into different directions in their life. Okay, so we got Patty and we got Sally. Patty and Sally are both on weight loss journeys. They've both been wanting to, take a mind after their health. And so one morning they decide to get up, and as we all do, they want to step on the scale. When Patty and Sally step on the scale, they see the exact same number, 200 pounds. The first thing a lot of you were thinking, how would I feel if the scale said 200 pounds? Some of us would be very happy. Some of us would be very upset, right? And it's the exact same number. And that just goes to show even more. It's not the number that's the problem. It's how we're thinking about it. And here's the thing. We don't even know how to feel for Patty and Sally. Should they be happy? Should they be sad? We don't know, because without any other context, that is simply a neutral number. It's a neutral circumstance. So in this case, we're going to add some context. All right. Patty has been on a weight loss journey for 3 years. At her high weight, she was 290 pounds. And today, stepping on the scale and seeing 200 pounds, that's the lowest recordable weight that she's seen. She takes things slow and steady, and she's seen slight ups and downs on her journey, but overall, it's been trending down. How do we think Patty feels when she sees 200? She feels good. Wow, this is amazing. All the hard work I'm doing is paying off. That's how she feels. She feels great. Sally, on the other hand, Sally's been on a weight loss journey for 2 years. Her high weight was 255 pounds. She decided she needed to kick things in gear, and she worked really, really hard. She toiled and sacrificed, and after a year, she reached her goal weight of 170 pounds. And after she reached that goal weight, it wasn't everything she thought it was going to be, and she started to lose her motivation. She started to get tired of having to go to these extremes in order to reach her goals. She would have drastic yo-yos. She would be super strict, and she would lose weight, and then she would just go off the rails, and she would rebel against it, and then she would gain weight, and then she would get her butt in gear, and she would get right back on plan, and she would go down, up and down, and up and down. And that leads us to today, where she steps on the scale, and she sees 200. What does Sally think? Wow, this is terrible. I can't believe I let myself slip this far back, right? The same exact circumstance. Two very different next thoughts. Wow, this is amazing. Wow, this is terrible, right? And we have the power to choose what our next thought is. Well, I'm not going to say we have the power to choose the next thought, because our default thought's just going to pop up in our head, and that's normal, right? But right then, we have the power to observe it and to decide whether or not we want to keep that there or move it out and put something else in its place, right? So these are what has happened to these two ladies. This is their thought, and now we're going to see how that plays out in their life, right? So the circumstance, Patty weighs 200 pounds, Sally weighs 200 pounds. It is the exact same circumstance. The thought, Patty's thought, wow, this is amazing. My hard work is paying off. Sally, this is terrible. I can't believe I let myself slip this far back. So because of these thoughts that these two women have had, that drives different feelings. It makes them feel different things. Patty gets to feel proud and determined and excited and hopeful, like, wow, I'm really doing it. I'm really doing the things I need to do, and it's paying off. Sally feels defeated and ashamed and depressed and hopeless. I keep coming back here again. I always lose, but it never stays. I'll always gain it again. I always have to do these drastic things in order to get my weight down, but I can never keep it there. It's this daunting negative feeling. Well, because Patty feels determined and proud and hopeful, she wants to keep doing the things she's been doing. She wants to keep eating well, keep exercising, and keep building those healthy habits. Patty wants to reinforce the feelings that she's having, and we do that with our actions. Whereas Sally, she gives up. She uses food to numb and escape her feelings. Who wants to feel defeated and ashamed and hopeless? None of us do. And thank you, Chris. Yes. One for the suffering man. Yes. But how many of us can relate with just using food to numb that? Like, I don't want to feel this way anymore. Ice cream tastes great. Pizza is delicious. I just want to forget this for a little bit, and I'll get back around to it tomorrow. But we want to escape that feeling. And if we keep putting ourselves in positions to escape our feelings and use negative habits in order to do that, that's going to breed a negative result. Back to Patty's result. She continues to improve her health, and eventually she reaches her goals, and then she sets new goals, right? And I think that's one thing that Robert said that I found very insightful, is that maintenance, not really real, right? You're either getting better or you're starting to slowly get worse, but you can never, and Coach Bronson talks about this too, you can never not reach a goal as long as you keep setting new goals. Once you reach one goal, set another one. Start to get, higher, stronger, more. You can do more. You can always, weight's not the only goal you have to have. You can always measure different things to keep improving, and that's going to make you feel positively about yourself. But if we keep using food or poor habits to numb what we're going through, Sally abandons her health journey and gains all her weight back. She decides she's just destined to be overweight, right? And how many of us have ever thought that? Well, I guess I'm just supposed to be an overweight person. Like, this is hard. Like, it looks easy for everyone else. I can't do it. Something's wrong with me. This is just too hard. I guess I'm supposed to be like this, right? And guess what? The evidence or belief for Patty is, I'm the type of person that reaches my goal. If I stay consistent, my hard work will pay off. And if we look at her evidence, that goes right back to her thought. My hard work is paying off, right? And the result she got shows her that if she keeps working, her hard work is paying off. And so she's going to keep taking those actions. And it's just that cycle that's going to drive her closer to her goals. Whereas Sally says, I'm never going to reach my goals. I can do well for a little while, but I always end up right back where I started. That's what she truly believes, is that she's always going to end up right back where she started. So even when she tells herself, oh, we got to get our butt in gear, we got to do it, and she sees initial weight loss success, there's always this little thought in the back of her mind that's like, but I'm just going to end up back where I started. This isn't going to last. And it's always going to be there, and it's going to drive her to take actions that confirm that. That's that self-sabotage that Mary was talking about, is when we truly don't believe we're capable of being different, our actions, the little thoughts, are going to drive us to different actions. But as I talked about, this doesn't have to be the end. This is not the only way for these people's circumstances to turn out. So we're going to focus on Sally, and we're going to say Old Thought Sally was the person that we just mentioned. She had a negative reaction, sent her down a negative spiral, and it reinforced her thought. But then Sally came on the low carb cruise, and she sat through this presentation, and Sally said, well, you know what? Maybe I don't have to think that first thing. Maybe I don't have to believe the first thought. So here's the thing. Sally steps on the scale. She still sees 200 pounds, right? Nothing has changed. And that's the beautiful thing. Nothing on the outside has to change. The only thing that has to change is in here. So now, instead of Sally, she steps on the scale and she thinks, oh no, I've slipped so far back. But then she thinks, but wait a minute. is there another thought that could be true? Is there another thought that I could choose to think? And this is what it's called a thought ladder. And Amy Berger talked about this at Ketopalooza last year, and I thought it was great. It's about moving yourself from a negative thought to a neutral thought, to any other thought that could also be true. And I think a lot of times the problem with changing our thoughts is we think we have to go from one extreme to another. Like, I hate myself to like, I love myself. I'm the best person in the world. I'm so beautiful. Nothing is wrong. Like, we don't have to do that, right? We can go from I hate myself to, you know what? I exist. I exist right now. That's another thought that we could have. And it's a completely neutral thought. And from there, we can choose to build. But we don't have to go to this extreme. We just need to choose one other thought that we could believe. And so Sally chooses, my weight is higher than it has been in the past, but I only fail if I give up. I know I can figure this out. Like, she acknowledges, my weight is higher than it has been in the past. It's not like, I'm a failure because my weight is higher. I'm the worst person ever because I've gained all this weight. What's wrong with me? It's just a neutral observation. Yes, my weight is higher than it has been in the past, but I only fail if I give up. I know I can figure this out. And so imagine, how do you feel if you truly believe, I know I can figure this out? You're going to be calm. You're going to say, it is inevitable. I will figure this out. You're going to be curious. What I've been doing hasn't been working. What else could I try? And you're going to be determined to figure it out and hopeful. We just want to shift you from old negative feelings to new positive feelings that will get you going in the right direction. And you do that with your thoughts. So because she's determined to figure it out, Sally learns new habits and tools for her journey, and she gives herself time and patience. And that's one thing I love that we've hit on a lot here, is that it won't happen overnight. It won't happen over 6 months even, for the majority of us to get exactly where we want to get. We got to put in years, and we have to embrace the journey along the way. So as a result, Sally spends the next couple of years developing the mindset and the long-lasting habits needed to sustain her health goals. And so her new evidence is that just because I haven't figured it out before doesn't mean I'm never going to figure it out. If I'm committed to change, I will eventually reach my goal. Just because you haven't figured it out before does not mean you're never going to figure it out. Newsflash, the only way to figure something out is to have not figured it out. Because before, you would have already figured it out, right? If we used our ability to do something in the past as our only indicator that we could do it in the future, none of us would be anywhere. I've never gone on a cruise before, so that must mean I can never go on a cruise ever. I've never ridden the bus before, so that means I must not be able to do it. We approach so many things with negativity, and especially when it comes to our health and weight loss of, it's never worked before, why now? Well, of course it's never worked before. That just means we have to keep trying. But if you use your past as the evidence to why you can't have your future, you'll never get there. You've literally got to do something you've never done before. How many of us have done something we've never done before? Like, all of it, yes, all of us have, right? And so just keep using that as an indicator of what you're capable of, not relying, well, it never worked before, I've never been able to do this before. That has no bearing on what you can do in the future. Remember that. Okay, so my key takeaways, number one, your thoughts are the source of your outcomes. Start with your thoughts. Just for the next couple of days, just examine your thoughts. And now they're going to just start to pop up everywhere. Like, oh, it's hot. Okay, all right, where did that come from? Oh, the sun is shining, the temperature outside. You'll start to notice your thoughts and notice, is this a thought I want to keep? Is this a thought that I want to discard and put another one in its place, right? Just start to become aware of your thoughts. Number two, you get to choose which thought you believe. The first thought that pops into your head is not your only option. And it's okay. Feel okay and know that it is normal for negative thoughts to pop into your head. You're not always going to like the way you look. You're not always going to like what the scale says. And so that default thought, that's going to come up, and that's normal. But what you do next is the most important part. Number three, being in a rush isn't helpful. Whether it takes 3 months or 3 years, the end result is the same, right? How many people have reached a weight loss goal, a health goal? Maybe, A1C, blood sugar. Like, rarely do we look back and say, oh my gosh, that took a whole year. I can't believe it took a whole year. We don't care about how long it took. We care that we got to where we wanted, right? And so I can promise you, when you reach that goal, you're not going to say, oh, I can't believe it took me, 8 months. And even if you think that, it'll only be for a fleeting second, right? But being in a rush, forcing these unrealistic timelines and expectations on yourself, that's going to lead you to more negativity than any amount of time would. And then number 4, if you don't change the way you think along the way, you'll never be satisfied no matter how much weight you lose. And this is the big one. If you hate yourself thin, you will hate yourself thin. You will still look in the mirror and you will still not be satisfied. And you'll still wonder, what's next? What have I gotten wrong? Because this was supposed to be the thing that fixed it for me. And so change your thoughts along the way. Choose to think better thoughts, right? And we have the power to do that starting right now, immediately. Okay. And with that, I am done, right? So find me here. So thank you. Thank you so much. I have flyers in the back for Keto-Palooza. If you're interested in finding more information, you can come talk to me. We'll be here all week. That made a lot more sense on Sunday, but now the week is almost over and we're so sad. But thank you so much and enjoy the rest of the day.